Hi guys, welcome to Investing with JYK, and today I will discuss some observations that I have about China, and then I'll get into some things that I see action. Like the year-over-year decrease was about the same as it was like almost a month ago. So it went as low as 90%, 95% down, and then it was stuck at like 70% down for more than a year. And that's definitely like putting a toll on all the airlines and also on the airports. The other thing that I observe uh, in terms of GDP is that I have a friend whose father works for the national grid in Hunan, and then uh, according to her father was like the actual electricity consumption in March was down 7%, about. So that basically translates to a 7% reduction in GDP. And if that is a representative of entire China, then we can expect for uh, March that the actual GDP was down 7%, but we don't know if that number, because in China, like every level kind of lies to every other level. So if you imagine like the county level would lie to state level, and the state level would then lie to the national level. Obviously, then the city level would lie to state level. So there's a bunch of lies, and then you have like compounding lies, and that's like over the entirety of Hunan. But that also includes the increased electricity consumption because people are stuck at home. For the industrial part, which I would assume is more represents from the Chinese central government, there was a emphasis on uh, environment protection. But what are you gonna do? Like, you need these polluting industries. So what happens is basically the richer industries to Hunan, so to basically next to Guangdong, and these towns had electricity consumption that was down like 15 to 20%. So that tells you the extent of damage. So I think the negative 6.8% GDP growth is still a lie. I think the real number is probably much lower. But we don't know. There's no way we can get that number because numbers in China are basically fake. And yeah, there's no way you can get the numbers. So that's one thing regarding GDP numbers. Regarding death numbers, there's a news there's a press conference basically by the Chinese I don't know how to translate that. 民政局 is like the Bureau of Welfare, something like that. What they said is that they took care of 400 children that had their entire family tree wiped out, that they had no adult that have a responsibility of taking care of them, a legal responsibility of taking care of them. That means parents, grandparents, right? So everything's wiped out, not aunts or like uncles or something like that, right? So their parents are all dead, and their grandparents are all dead. So there are 400 of these, and that from a side tells you how many people have died. Definitely not 3,000, right? If only 3,000 people died, then Basically, that means from all the family members of those 400 children were dead, and nobody else, and that's just statistically impossible. So then that's basically another uh, evidence of the lies that you have about the numbers in China. So always keep it in mind. Take the official numbers with a huge grain of salt. It might be indicative in terms of the direction of where things are moving, but the absolute number has basically no resemblance. Um, there's no resemblance between the numbers and reality. So keep that in mind. All right. But on the brighter side, I was talking to, like, just a week ago, I was talking to some restaurants in Shanghai, near where I work, and they told me that their business was down like 67%, two-thirds. And 2 days ago, my colleagues slash employees was telling me that uh, they had to queue up at the small restaurant that they usually eat out at during lunch, like to grab a quick lunch. They had to queue there for almost well, they had to queue there first of all, and then they had to wait for their orders to arrive. So that does tell you there's a significant pickup of activities in Shanghai. But that seems to be at the moment stuck at what do you call those, lunch. And if we when we went there, I think Tuesday last week, the place was still empty. So something's still going on, that people don't eat out for dinner, but they are more comfortable getting food. They're more comfortable for dining in than previously for lunch. That's the other observation that I have. So there's something that's picking up. Okay, and I'll address the comments. Then I will uh, talk about another thing that I see recently. All right, Senor Adrian Puente. Hola. Jonathan Neuschler. Are movie theaters open in China? And if yes, are they fully booked? They are open in China. They are not fully booked. In fact, they're not booked at all. I don't know. I have an employee that I think movie theaters are like her only entertainment during weekends, and she used to go to movie theaters maybe every month or more frequently. She hasn't gone to the movie theaters since the beginning of the breakout. So that's anecdotal. On the other hand, I haven't heard. Well, I have my employees would sometimes go to movie theaters, but I know that none of them have gone to movie theaters since the the breakout. And let me think. What I had something in mind. It was just a tip of time. I forgot what I was want to say. But yeah, so let's go to karaoke, and then I'll treat you. I mean, the bill's on me. So they were pretty happy, and then they checked on their phone to see if there are any karaoke places that are open around, and apparently all of them are still closed. So karaoke places are still closed. With Shanghai factories of Tesla, the Shanghai factory of Tesla, is there enough demand in China for new cars? People are definitely more. A lot of people are out of work, but I think since Tesla is has such small market share, I mean, if they can produce cars at reasonable price and reasonable quality, then I think there shouldn't be a problem of demand with um, those two conditions satisfied. But China, I mean, in China, Tesla already has a reputation of fancy car without the good quality. So that is well, pretty much well known fact for people that are in the market for a Tesla. But Neo is doing this crazy thing of giving free battery swaps and free charges. So he happens to live next to a Neo battery swap station. So but he has never charged his car since he bought it like 2 months ago or a month ago. He has never charged his car. It's kind of funny. And the Neuschiller, thank you for your tip. Greetings from Russia. Well, greetings from China. Shanghai didn't seem to be badly hit by the virus. I have many relatives in Shanghai. They didn't really see much disruption even during the plague. Xuhui and Minhang district. Yeah. So we have a property in Xuhui and in Minhang actually. In Anxiang is we have some properties in China. I mean, sorry, in Shanghai, and then we definitely see a lot of disruption. So a simple example was even deliveries. So we used to get deliveries in our office. We can no longer get that. And due to that, I actually lost a package for my friend. So by the property management firm in the name of combating the virus, they can no longer enter the building. So what they do is they leave packages outside the building, and that results in the losses of these packages because they get stolen. And also, I don't pick up the phone, which doesn't help. I just don't pick up phones in China because there's a lot of spam calls. Tesla, not good quality. Driving Tesla is so fun. I don't know about driving Tesla. I've never driven one. They're not good quality. That's kind of a given. They're not very good at building like cars. They're pretty good at the tech, the software within the cars. I think they have the best software in the car industry, but people in China recognize they are basically not good quality. And I have only two data points of a pretty successful entrepreneur. He has like that I know that he has some factories in China. A factory owner. He said Tesla is a Tesla. Oh, all in Chinese yuan terms. He said it's worth 3 million for the acceleration, 2 million for the what did he say? I don't remember the numbers exactly. Basically, he says the acceleration is worth 3 million, and then on the low end, the quality is worth 100K. So that's what he's. In the middle was something else that he said it was worth either 2 million or 1 million. So basically, they know Tesla are good at some things, are really bad at quality. Quality in terms of both like quality and then makesmanship. He basically bought a toy Model S, and he had to have his the weather seals replaced because it was leaking and all that shit. So he wasn't very happy about it, but he said, yeah, the acceleration is fantastic and the tech was great. Okay. I know you're a fan of Fuyao. Have you looked into their factory in Ohio overseas? I'm really curious about how you see the macro trends of manufacturing moving on. I think this is going to continue, unfortunately, for the Chinese. Yeah, factories are moving out. There's cost pressures in here, like within China, and then there's also this entire, essentially anti-China sentiment going on that's basically just happening, and yeah. Has China already lowered their oil prices? Asking about China has a floor for uh, retail products, like hydrocarbon retail products. Under $40 per barrel, they no longer lower their prices. That's the floor, which means SHI is basically protected from the margin side, but it is not protected from the demand side. Although, from what I can see, a lot of cars are running on the roads, and so I think their demand is reasonably there. I wouldn't worry too much about it. They definitely have demand contraction, but it's not like drastic, like 50-60%. Maybe it's like down 10-20% or something like that. What's up, Evney? Evney. What do you think about Acorn? I have no idea about Acorn. I have no idea. I haven't even heard of them. All right. So getting to the next topic, on the topic of HNA Holding. HNA is the parent company of Haikou Meilan Airport, the one of the airports that I own, and they were running out of money because they were pretty high on debt. Their debt to equity ratio is something like 4 to 1. Yeah, so 75+% of their asset is made up of debt, and the asset valuation is obviously questionable. So, oh yeah, I know HNA owns Swissport. They own a bunch of companies outside China, and that was during a period of time where the central government was encouraging investment outside China, but then it becomes like some of you may remember there was Ambang who bought Waldorf Astoria in New York, and that was during I think Obama was still in charge back then. And then there's Hainan HNA, which is Hainan Airlines, which is where the original name. Then they become a holding company. They were doing the same thing. They bought a bunch of shit outside China, and they started facing liquidity issues, and their CEO died, apparently accidentally, during a foreign visit, and a lot of people now think that he actually committed suicide. But either way, the company is in deep shit. And last year or earlier this year, I don't remember exact date, they were their debt is humongous. They had about seven. Let me think about it. Close to 1 trillion Chinese yuan of debt, right? And that is about 7 trillion. 700. Oh, damn it. $100 billion of debt. They had a lot of debt, and it's so much that the provincial government may not be able to save them. But either way, in the last week, what they did, and this is, I'm getting into the disgusting part of China. Basically, they had a bond that was due, not even due. They had a bond that was issued in 2013 for like 7 or 9%. The coupon, I don't remember how much, but it was due for an interest payment. And on the eve of the interest payment, they called for a bondholder meeting by 6:30 p.m. And that notice included a term that said, if you don't reply by 7 p.m. with the appropriate qualification material. So that you have to like provide if you're a personal investor, you have to give them a scan um, of your ID. If you're an institutional investor, you have to give them a stamped file stating that you are representing that institution to join the bondholder meeting. You're not admitted. So that's a half-hour notice discussing issues that's happening next day. So what ended up happening was they said they would postpone the payment of that interest for an entire year. So they would make that interest payment next year's on the same day and not giving you compound interest. So it's the same interest payment, just deferred for an entire year. That's basically default. Okay, so the disgusting part of this thing is that they still keep AAA rating in China, which tells you that the ratings in China means absolutely nothing. Like if a company is levered up to basically to their eyes, to their eyeballs, 78%, 75 or 78% of their asset is debt, and they have a AAA rating, and then they have a deferred payment of their debt, of their bond interest, and it's a fucking like, and they still have AAA rating with the rating agencies in China. So it's just basically bullshit. I don't think any of you are buying Chinese debt at the moment, but just keep it in mind. The rating agencies in China basically they mean nothing. The ratings mean absolutely nothing. So yeah, so that's that. So I guess that's all I have to address the comment. Ratings enemy. I mean, yeah, well, the ratings in um US, yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a conflict of interest, but it's compared to China, they're like angels, really. They're like angels with, bright white wings and their feathers. Um, they were maintaining their ratings for Lehman Brothers at AAA, which is disgraceful. And they had questionable ratings of a bunch of these mortgage-backed securities, but in the end, if you look at the AAA rated mortgage-backed securities during the actual financial crisis, none of them actually had a default. So, yeah, you could argue that, rating agencies outside China were thugs, but maybe the rating agencies in China are just mafias. I don't know. It's a there is a qualitative difference between the stuff that they do. Have you considered about investing in Great View at these parties? I already have Great View as aseptic packaging, so I own them. Any thoughts on inverting yield curves? Nobody gives a crap of the yield curve in China. Like nobody. People don't buy government bonds not because they don't trust it, simply because there just isn't that much of it. Like for an individual investor, it's not even an option. You don't even think about it. It's basically through the repo market, which is kind of funny because in China you can get into repo markets much easier than you can in US. Yeah, so that's the only way you can get exposed to it. Any other way, you basically don't buy central government debt. What do you think about risk of melting permafrost pros for Gazprom? I don't really pay much attention to the permafrost for Gazprom. Gazprom infrastructure is old already, so that doesn't. I don't think it poses any extra risk. It's just a risk that they already have. Their infrastructure will be turning like 30, 40, or even 50 years old by the end of next decade. Oh, there was one thing that I was thinking. China's baby boom. China's baby boom. It's a completely new topic. It's not related to anything else that I was thinking of. China's baby boom there was two baby booms in China. One started in like 63 and lasted until 76. And the second one, I don't know when it started, but it ended in 1990 or 91. And we have some ridiculous retirement ages. Women retire at 55 and men retire at 60. It's completely ridiculous. It's not as if Chinese live until they're 65. We live until our 80s. Well, not 80s yet, but close to our 80s. Women live to like 79 and men do like 78, 77, something like that. Like, what the hell? 60 years old and then you have to retire. But you don't have to. You can enjoy a retirement. The numbers don't add up. So the first wave of the baby boomers in China, and the reason that baby boom was happening then was that was the end of the Great Leap Forward, when a bunch of people basically died and nobody can have children because you're just gone because there's not enough food. And so men that were born during the first baby boom are entering retirement age now, this year. So last year we had 10 million entering retirement age, and this year probably more, quite a bit more. There's the boom effect, maybe 20% or 30% more. Another thing that we have in terms of demographics that I was recently looking into is the number of people born in the 80s is about double the number of people born in the first decade of 2000. So good luck keeping the retirement thing going. But most people are completely oblivious. They kind of have this blind faith in government that would make everything right, which I guess in the short term is a benefit to China. But I don't know. Yeah, most people don't know the Great Leap Forward. They have no idea about July 4th, Tiananmen Square thing. They have no idea about what really happened during the Cultural Revolution. They have no idea about the role that the Chinese Communist Party actually played during the Second World War. They think the Chinese Communist Party was the main driver in defeating Japan during that war. And they have no idea about the mathematics around the retirement thing. So, yeah, people are completely oblivious. It's most people, I mean, like 95% plus. If you talk to them that are born after 1990s, if you talk to them about any of this stuff, they're like, what? Huh? What are you talking about? Tiananmen Square? Unheard of. What is that? And they are almost, most of them are blindly supportive of the government. So yeah, that's China for you. $2,000 per person stimulus being discussed in China. Thoughts? Massive. I don't think there will be there's a higher likelihood of inflation. Is it going to have a massive inflation? No. Is it going to be Weimar Republic? No. Is it going as Weimar? So that's. Are you shorting US? I have some puts. I don't have much. So I'm just waiting. I don't think this thing's gonna end this easily, but I could entirely be wrong. Maybe they put in so much money that the fear basically subsides and the asset market keeps going up. China is a female-friendly society. Why is China a female-friendly society? That's China is a nobody-friendly society. Like there's nobody um, that like I don't know how you define female friendly. Yeah, Chinese women participate in work a lot compared to Western societies. We judge them very harshly, or more harshly than the Western societies. Um, and they judge men a lot more harshly than the Western societies. And yeah, I don't really know if how you define female friendly. It's the Chinese government is not the government. The Chinese culture itself is basically more judgmental, and that's that. And everybody is treated harshly here. Blah blah blah. DRAM. DRAM in China, not really sure. I actually bought some SSDs. Funny enough, but learned my lesson. I really should have bought Micron maybe, but I bought some SSDs, so I'm waiting for price pickup. That may not happen. I don't know. 55 age woman retire versus man 60. I think it's a completely stupid thing. Um, I don't really know what the reason is behind 50 years old retirement, but who gives a shit? It's unsustainable, and they're gonna change it. And if women live longer, they should work longer. I don't see why women should live longer and work shorter. It makes no sense. Um, China's opening up economy attracting capital. Good, bad. I think it's whoever is getting sucked into this is kind of dumb. Yeah, I don't know why people are coming in to buy what Chinese stocks maybe, and if China can keep that open, yeah, you get reasonable returns, but who knows how long that's gonna last. Maybe they'll close it back out. I don't know. Do you use? Yeah, I use interactive brokers. China's printing of RMB arguably exceeds anyone else. Is only a problem since a closed system. Yes, it is technically, and that does help a lot in terms of control. RMB is the thing is for people like me, I don't really want to hold RMB. I have no faith, so I either want to get into gold or some other assets. Like just I don't want to hold RMB. It's scary. Are you Japanese? No, I'm Chinese. I'm not Japanese. Do you know anything about Cebu in Argentina? I have no idea about Cebu in Argentina. In terms of the Japanese Chinese thing, I do speak some Japanese. I can read Japanese to an extent, but no, I'm not Japanese. Okay. Maybe I should a do a video on my backgrounds if you guys are interested at some point. But anyways, we're late. I should go to bed. Yeah, China will still stay a unified country. The government has all the military power, and they will shoot everybody that disagrees. And yeah, that's what's gonna happen. Anyways, bye.